Damn, Perk did this?
I don't need no one to save me. I was born to be the greatest. All that time in that basement, all that time isn't wasted. Rapping getting faded. I just wanna tell my mom that I made it. Just wanna be the topic of the conversation. Used to rock the gold plated. Now I'm wearing gold chains like I'm famous.
What are your thoughts, especially now with the, as I mentioned earlier, like the term passport bro coming up in the algorithm, and a lot of good things, but there are some critics, right, that talk about the passport bros and things of that sort. So, what are your thoughts on the critics stating that passport bros are strictly just going there for tourism of the intimacy kind?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think it's two things to it, right? A person could be telling the truth, or a person could be saying something that has merit, but it comes off different based on who's saying it, right? So I can say, as a traveler, as knowing these places, I could say, you know what? I did a scientific poll in random groups and asked guys, are they looking for wives or are they looking just to have fun? And I could say, you know what? 80% of men say they're not looking for a relationship. So you know what I mean? So I can say, well, most men aren't looking for a relationship. They're looking to have fun. And people can accept that and not feel attacked or offended. But when somebody that's putting it in a different context saying, you know, maybe these guys, they're just traveling for sex, they're not looking for wives or things of that nature, it comes out different because that person is coming from a different place. So there's truth there. I mean, to be honest, there's truth to what there is merit to what they're saying. The data, there's data to support it. But I think that is nothing wrong with expanding your borders to do the same things that you would do in the United States. Now, one can say, well, some people can't do that in the United States. You know, that's a different conversation. But I don't like criticism, and most of the criticism are from guys that haven't been to these countries or haven't traveled at all. So that's the issue that I have. They have nothing, you know what I mean? They're going off of what they heard or regurgitating stereotypes that they said out there. So that's the issue I have with that. And by them not having any experience in these countries, anything they say should not hold any weight. It doesn't hold any weight. It's null and void. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Gotcha. And you say that there's data to support the theory, and I agree, right? And so not necessarily a pushback on what you're saying, but I would say an add-on, if you will. Do you think that part of the reason why the men are stating that they don't want to be in relationships and or marriage is because of the laws, and specifically in the United States, which deter them from being in a relationship and or marriage? What are your thoughts to that?
I mean, it's deep, right? Because if we go back, we understand what was going on in the 40s. You know, let's say since we were free up until World War II, most black men, if they did get married, they had to get married, right? It was a saying that if you get so and so pregnant, you better marry her.
Right.
And a lot of times, black families, if the daughter has sex or got pregnant, she was essentially kicked out the house. You not respecting my house no more. You grown. You got to leave and go with that man. So, you know, so we had a culture where when you had to get married in certain instances, and then too, if you wanted a young wife, or if you seen a woman you was attracted to, in order to get her out her father's home, you had to marry her. So there was a lot of situations where black men kind of had to marry to get what they want. So where am I going with this? Men have shown that, for the most part, that they want more than one woman in one shape or another. Our grandfathers, great grandfathers, most of us could say they cheated or had illegitimate children. So if nothing new about men not wanting to be in a monogamous relationship, that's what I'm trying to say. There's nothing new about that. Our culture, our African culture, shows it as well. That's why polygamy exists in Africa still, because that's just the culture we come from. So there's not a surprise that most men are not looking for marriage, because black men are not looking for marriage, because our culture, we don't come from a monogamous culture. We come from a polygamous culture. That even though we've been separated from Africa for centuries, it's still embedded in us in some way or form. So that's the thing. And it's just like, I'm just going to kind of add on to this, is that we have to understand that what's going on has always been going on. Most men have always not wanted to be married in a monogamous relationship. That's not a new phenomenon. And one thing I always say when it comes to Kevin Samuels, may he rest in peace, is that he used to preach this talking point about women dying alone. And my only pushback against that is that women have always died alone. So it's women. In conclusion, people that was married now or hundreds of years ago, it's always been a small percentage of people that got married in the first place, for the most part. You know what I mean? So that's, in a nutshell, that's what I gotta say on that.
Gotcha. And let me play this video really quickly. So this is a quick video that one of the groups that I'm in, actually. So someone sent this in, man. I actually, shout out to my man Demain. Let's Speak Spanish. So let me all know. Let me know when you can see my screen. All right, I gotta make sure that it's not on mute. All right,
bro. I'm out of here. I'll see you when I see you. All right, bro. Be safe and good luck. Where's he going? Oh, he's moving to Brazil to find himself a wife. Why? He said something about finding himself a traditional woman. So he just wants a slave? No, he just wants a woman that... Does he really get no ass to the point where he needs to leave the country? Like, is that not predatory behavior? Do you want him? Ew, no. Then why do you care so much? Because that's stupid. How? He wants a traditional type of marriage, so he went somewhere where traditional women are plentiful. That's pretty smart if you ask me. He has the money to take care of a whole family, so he's good. But if he's struggling to find someone in his own country, isn't that more so on him? I mean, maybe not. He'll know for sure once he's in South America for long enough, right? And besides, how's it going for you? Maybe you should think about getting a passport yourself. It's funny because white guys have been going to different countries to find wives forever. The minute black guys start doing it, it's this big problem.
So what are your thoughts on that, man? What are your thoughts on that video?
Man, that's the typical back and forth banter you see, man, between that you see between women, some women and women, man, some women and men.
Right.
I think it's on a female's part, for the most part, it's contradiction, because how can you if you don't care, but your curiosity shows that you care, right? Caring to care is to have interest, right, into something. So by definition, they do care. So they contradict themselves all the time, and I just find it funny,
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And not only that, but I think that it's actually funny when the men actually get triggered to have a problem. And also what you mentioned earlier, where you mentioned that a lot of the critics, they have not traveled abroad, or they simply just say, oh, like these countries are third world countries. And it's like, no, like Colombia is a second world country. Brazil is a second world country, and Brazil is actually about to be a first world country, I would say, probably within the next 10 to 15 years. And